How's it going? Welcome back to GameThru, of course. You might be wondering why I'm saying welcome back. Well, that's because we did create a first episode about over a year ago, and it didn't really do too well, to be honest. It didn't do too well at all. In fact, it was kind of just like a big meme. And that's not how we really envisioned GameThru to actually end up. So if you're confused and you want to see the first episode, it is going to be uploaded coincidingly with the second episode, which is technically the real start of GameThru. Anyways, introductions out of the way. Let's get on to our topic. Now, before we get on to our topic, I'm going to introduce you to the wall. Now, the wall is special because it has all sorts of games along the wall. And while we go on this adventure together through GameThru, we're going to be actually pulling games right off the wall right here. And say I do find more games way out there somewhere in the world, we will add them to the wall, therefore making it... Whoa, I almost fell and died. Therefore making it our wall. Anyways, to get started, I have to go to a certain section of the wall, which isn't here. This is just the top PS4 sections A through C. Or no, A through D. Oof. So let's go to a different section and see what we got going on there. Hello, and welcome to sections PS4 T2W, because I don't have Z, and it's a little crammed in here because it's literally the corner of the wall, if that makes sense. And it kind of combines with the, oh look, more G Fuel. Sponsor me, please. But we're kind of also crammed in with PS2 section R to S. So the wall isn't very big, but it will get bigger later. Now the game we're actually grabbing from this section of the wall is in between the Outer Worlds and Terraria, and it is The Last of Us Remastered. And we're going to be playing this today. But I don't really want to be playing it here. It's a little cramped in this corner, so let's find a new place to be where I don't have to break my legs just to be here. Ugh. Welcome. So, here we are between sections D and K. We have The Last of Us sitting here, right above sections K through S. And let me put this back real quick. Now, for those of you who don't know, The Last of Us came out in the year 2013 for the PS3. I do have the PS3 copy, but I don't really want to cram myself way down at the bottom of the nook right here. Very literally as far down the wall as you can go. It's down here. Let me see. PS3 section R to W. In between Uncharted and Transformers. The PS3 copy. Now, we have my PS4 copy here, which we're going to be playing, but let me give you a short synopsis about what we're getting into here with The Last of Us. Ready? Oh, here we go. Once upon a time, in 2013, The Last of Us made everybody cry. The end. Whoa, 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 whoa. Let's back up a bit. So why do humans love tragedy? Why are we so addicted to terms like death and emotional when we're looking for a good movie or a good book to read? Especially death. I mean, death is so scary because we enter this world and we're blessed because we're alive. But then we're cursed because we know it's all going to just come to a big crashing end with our death. But why do we become so intrigued with media that's so depressing? Shows and comics such as The Walking Dead, for example, contain major deaths in almost every volume and season of the show or book, whichever version you're reading. I mean, for God's sakes, people even host parties betting on who's going to die next in this last episode or in the final book or whatever. So the answer to how we become so intrigued by these tragic characters and their deaths would be personal investment. People usually find a show or a game, whatever hooks them. For instance, Last of Us, or for my favorite game, we're going to go over here to sections A to R for PS2, Ratchet and Clank, that really grips us. And usually, like Ratchet and Clank, we play the first game right off the bat because it's the first game that's, we want to be introduced. We want to be introduced to the very beginning of the game. Now, there's certain games like Grand Theft Auto 5 and the Grand Theft Auto series as a whole, where every story is a little bit different, and pretty much wherever entry you enter in, you're already going to be immersed into the world no matter what you do. But right off the bat, when it's your first time playing a game, we're giving to a bunch of intense world building that makes us feel as if we were in the game ourselves. And the scenery around the characters and around the game makes it just so much better. And slowly watching them go through the story, reaching the end of their goals, is just such an emotional breakthrough for most people, whether it's a game or a movie or a TV show or a book. No matter what it is, the attachment to the world building and the characters really grabs you, and the personal investment that we put into those characters and that storyline and the scenery is what gets us to keep going. But I mean, of course, this investment takes time, the play of the acting or the voice acting really serves its purpose with the viewer, and how they become personally attached to the character and how they relate to them a lot more fluently. Of course, multiple games have given us great world building and characters. Red Dead Redemption's true dirty nature had us begging for more, and the constant struggle of the characters within The Walking Dead have us sitting on the edge of our seats every single episode we click on. But usually it takes a good amount of time to get emotionally attached. Using The Walking Dead again, for example, at the end of episode 1, we are given, spoiler alert, I'm going to give myself 2 minutes to explain this spoiler. The timer will be here. If I end up doing it before this timer goes off, then the timer will be gone. But if you want to skip forward until the timer is gone right here, next to The Last of Us, feel free. Anyways, in The Walking Dead, at the end of episode 1, they give us the chance to either kill a character named Carly or a character named Doug. And after obviously killing Doug, I don't know anyone who actually killed Carly. I mean, Carly was the one with the gun, so I killed Doug. I felt no emotional connection to that character at all. I didn't even care when we continue moving on. It just felt like as soon as episode 2 started, I pretty much forgot who Doug was. I mean, God, Doug was such a shit character. I felt more for Mark, who died at the end of episode 2, and we didn't even know him. We didn't even see his introduction. He just appeared in the game.
Please. Someone.
But what if? What if I told you there was a game out there where you could attach to characters within 15 minutes tops of the start of the game? What if there's a game where there's rapid, smooth character development within only fractions of the game? Well, in 2011, Naughty Dog released Uncharted 3, ending the first saga of the Uncharted series. Wanting to do something new, Jack Minkoff and his team designed the gritty survival horror of The Last of Us. 2 years later, the game went gold, and it is now known as possibly one of the greatest games ever released. Now, before we get into the story, we need to talk about the perfect control panel. You use different types of sprint using L1, regular controls. For a third-person shooter, there's a few different types of infected. It's smooth with the controls and gameplay change and cutscene change. I could talk about that stuff forever. That's stuff every game has. Every game has a basic standard of controls. Action button is one of the 4 on the pad. The analog sticks, usually the left one moves the character, the right one moves the camera. The 2 triggers, the one on the left aims, the one on the right shoots, the one on the before usually throws grenades or does a different action. It doesn't matter. They flip-flop a lot. Other than that, the controls are pretty basic. You don't really have to go in depth about controls for a third-person shooter when controls already exist. But the controls aren't what gripped us to The Last of Us, and the controls aren't our main topic of the story. Now, I'm not going to have a timer here for The Last of Us because the whole freaking episode is about The Last of Us. I mean, we don't have to... If you were here and you didn't want spoilers, then you shouldn't be here. This is not a spoiler-free review. We're literally going in-depth within the story about why it affects us emotionally as people. Now, we're done talking about the controls because the controls are simple. I can go in depth about the controls. It doesn't matter. It's a third-person shooter. The controls are universally the same. It runs well. It plays very smoothly. But that's not what made us so intrigued with the game. The story that gripped us. Now, I'm going to start at the very beginning, and I'm going to go to the very end. I hope you guys are prepared. This is going to be a long episode because I really want to talk about the emotional impact video games have. But we're just going to start off the bat. Everything in The Last of Us is completely and utterly perfect from beginning to the end. The filming and execution cannot be compared with any other game. Except maybe Red Dead Redemption. That game was so goddamn perfect. Put a little bow tie on it. It's literally a perfect game. Red Dead Redemption 2. Okay, we're not talking about Red Dead. We're talking about The Last of Us. Each chapter in The Last of Us is so unique. The emotional grip in the beginning with the death of Sarah, the nerve-dropping confrontation between Joel and Marlene, every moment in this game tore us down. Death. Death is one of the most important story elements in a story to the writer and the audience. A character's death can leave such an emotional imprint on the audience that it will make them fall more in love with the media they're already watching. For the author, it's even worse. You're playing God and deciding a character's fate who you pretty much birthed. You birthed the character because you wrote the character. And because, you're pretty much the father or mother of this character, you automatically have such an intertwined connection to that character. And for the writer, it's just so much worse when you write the character's death. Usually for the audience, this connection takes more than a few chapters or maybe a couple hours into whatever game you're playing to truly feel emotionally connected to this character. Now, the thing is, with The Last of Us, they get you emotionally hooked within 15 minutes of the game. Now, we're gonna just get right into the story and I'll show you what I mean. So the first interaction we see is between Joel and Sarah, his daughter, and we automatically can feel the connection because it's Joel's birthday. She gets him the gift, and it all feels so natural. And we begin by waking up and playing as Sarah. So our first initial intention and view is as Sarah. So we get a lot of elements of this perfect world. She's waking up. The city's still bustling. There's tons of lights. She does hear a few sirens, but what can you expect? She's a little freaked out, right? And then she's watching the news, and an explosion happens in the background. Now, it's actually pretty cool, because in-game, if you turn and look out the window, you can see the explosion going on in the city. I think it's actually kind of cool. Now, everything is like building up this really creepy world, you know? The buzzing on the phone from Uncle Tommy, Joel bursting into the room and shooting the neighbor in the face, and Sarah being very scared, but she's very strong. You know, you're playing as her and you're freaked out too because you're experiencing all of this just as new as she is. You know, you don't know what's going on. She doesn't know what's going on. You guys are in the same boat. Now the environment lays this down for us. We see the city starting to fall. We see people running. We see subtle clues like people walking on the side of the road. They're not even in danger. They're just a family. We see the farm burning down. We see everybody being at in the traffic jam on the freeway entering the city. It's just also subtle world building that truly shows that the world is falling apart before our eyes. So this perfect world that we saw at the beginning is slowly cookie crumbling all the way down to what we'll see for the rest of the game. Now, of course, they get in a car wreck. Sarah breaks her leg, and now we're playing as Joel. So now we're seeing everything as Joel. Our goal is, okay, we need to get Sarah, we are considering ourselves as Sarah, back to safety, you know, so we can, you know, continue to play as her. We want to continue her story. And Tommy, the uncle, he gets overrun, blah, blah, blah. He says, run. We run to the bridge. And then the most emotional beginning to any video game happens right now. So the soldier's sitting there. He requests orders from, you know, his general or his sergeant or whatever. And he asks, okay, I got 2 civvies here. What do you want me to do? And obviously, no risks. You can't have any risks coming from the city. So he's commanded to take fire on them. And then we get to actually witness Joel and Sarah get shot at, and they fall down the thing. And one of them, Sarah gets hit. Now, pretty sure I know how all of us were feeling when this happened, you know?
I know, baby, I know. God. Listen to me, I know this hurts, baby. You're gonna be okay, baby, stay with me. All right, I'm gonna pick you up. I know, baby, I know it hurts. Come on, baby, please. I know, baby, I know.
No, don't pull! No! Ah! So Sarah's now dead, and we're left bitter and broken. We honestly feel like the world started perfectly, came down, and crashed. We have nowhere to go. We feel like it ended already. But now we have to see where Joel's headed. Because Joel didn't die. And surprise, surprise, Tommy does come at the end and save Joel from getting shot by the army dude. Yeah, he just boo. So, anyways, we get more seamless introductions. We get this character named we get this character named Tess. She comes in and she has interactions with Joel. For a while, it seemed like they were a couple, but in fact, they're actually just a duo. Now, we get to see more of the environment between what happened. We get a little more backstory about what happened in between this time. Now, this is 20 years later. 20 years later is usually a time gap we don't see. 20 years later is huge. 20 years later is something we would only see in like a Call of Duty game because there's so many goddamn wars. I mean, they just jump around so much. 20 years later is pretty major for a character, for a gap, a character development gap. And I think it works pretty well. There's not much to say. He lost his daughter, he became a very dark and grimacing man, and he's cold to the people, he's very violent. It's honestly amazing watching how well it fits in and how we understand over 20 years why he's still so upset. I mean, I don't think you can ever get over something like that, but anyways, Tess got her ass beat by someone. We go to find that person, and we go and kill that person. We infiltrate, I think his name was Robert. He was only in the game for such a small amount of time. I could honestly care. He was the most minor antagonist. And then we are introduced to Marlene. the leader of the Fireflies. And can I just mention, what the fuck is she even doing? She's just wandering around, you know, bleeding out all over the place, but, you know, she good, she chilling, you know, she's just gonna walk it off real quick, you know what I mean? So Marlene gives us a proposition to smuggle something. Marlene takes us to Ellie, the main focal point of the game. She's pretty much the moral dilemma. So the problem with Ellie is we need to smuggle her. Marlene takes us on a little adventure to where we need to take her, and then we are revealed that Ellie is actually bit from the infected. However, even though she has been bit, she is immune to the infection. Her bite was a few months old, I believe. I don't remember it. I played the DLC way back when it actually came out. Now, obviously, Marlene, the leader of the Fireflies, which is an anti-government pretty much organization. The government pretty much martial lawed a bunch of major cities in the United States, and the Fireflies are pretty much the opposition to that. And they want to use Ellie's blood to develop a cure, but she can't smuggle her. So she asked Joel and Tess to smuggle her. Now, reluctantly, they agree. Because big money, am I right? Anyways, they fight through Boston, which is the first main city of the game. And bad news, Tess actually gets bit. Now, with Tess being a bit, the emotional impact, I feel, wasn't as heavy because the seamless introduction between Tess at the very beginning of the Boston section was so regular. She just didn't have any important feel to her, but for some reason her death felt so much worse when she decides, you know what, I don't care, I'm pretty much dead, I'm gonna just kill myself. Yeet. Now anyways, Joel's obviously pissed. He's been buddies with Tess for a long ass time. Tess is dead. His anger kind of lashes towards what's her name? His anger kind of lashes towards Ellie in a way, and he struggles between his morals of I'm just gonna take this girl to where she needs to go and that's it. But he's not sure what he's really doing it for, you know. And Tess's death really gives us shows us the impact the apocalypse has to the humans. So the next chapter happens. It's in a suburban neighborhood. They need to get a car. They meet Bill, and they find a vehicle from Bill, and Bill leaves his porn mags in the back of the truck for some reason. Fuck Bill. I hate this entire chapter, this entire era. I don't care. Every time I open the truck at the school and there's no battery for the car in there, I just get pissed off even more. This isn't a bad scene at all. It's not a bad part of the game. I just hate it personally because I don't know. It's just boring to me, honestly. It feels like a part of the game that it feels like filler, if that makes sense. They could have easily gotten rid of this part, and I would have felt literally the same way I feel now, except now I hate this part. A lot of people love it though, and I understand. Bill's a charming character, except when he leaves his jizzy porn mags in the back of the truck.
Singing this tonight. Light on the reading, but it's got some interesting photos.
Now, Ellie, that ain't for kids.
Whoa! How the hell would he even walk around with that thing?
Get rid of that.
Well, hold your horses. I want to see what all the fuss is about. Oh, why are these all stuck together?
Anyways, the duo arrive in Pittsburgh. So anyways, they drive into Boston, or Pittsburgh, using the same truck. They meet bandits. They lose their truck pretty much. After chasing the bandits, they are introduced to the most tragic and heartbreaking characters of the entire game, Sam and Henry, who are looking for salvation within the Fireflies, and they're also trying to escape Pittsburgh, just like Joel and Ellie were. Now with Sam and Henry, they're actually going to a radio tower where they promise to meet up with other survivors. Now, with the now quad, they get jumped by more bandits at the bridge, I believe. In the tussle between the bandits, Sam and Henry leave, and Ellie and Joel are left alone. And Ellie suggests that they jump into the water below. Now, Ellie doesn't know how to swim, which leaves, kind of a problem here between, yeah, she doesn't know how to swim. They're kind of fucked. The bandits are everywhere. What are they gonna do? Ellie and Joel, I can't even explain it. I'm just gonna play the clip.
Fuck!
How many bullets do you have left?
They're gonna kill us!
What other choice do we have?
We jump!
No, it's too high and you can't swim. I'll boost you up, you run past them.
You keep me afloat!
Ellie!
No time to argue!
Ellie! Damn it! Ah!
Now, what's funny is the unease and heart-wrench in the scene is still crazy. Even though I know what's gonna happen, it's still so intense, It felt like watching the Clone Wars, and the Order 66 part happened in the final season. You knew it was gonna happen, but you can't really prepare for it. Even with The Last of Us, this is a carbon copy, I'm watching the same thing as last time, unlike the Clone Wars, where it was a different scenario, but you just can't prepare for it because it's just leaves you in awe every time you watch it because it's so amazing. Anyways, Ellie and Joel wake up on the beach, where they find Sam and Henry again. Joel gets mad, puts a gun to Henry's head, or no, he puts a gun to Sam and asks for the Joel gets mad, puts a gun to Sam's head. Sam is pretty much just chilling at this point. Henry is, like, yo, put the gun down. Ellie explains to Joel that if it wasn't for them, they would be dead. And Joel asks Henry why they left him in the dust. Why did they leave why did Sam and Henry leave Ellie and Joel? And Henry pretty much explains that he left for the safety of Sam. Totally reasonable. Ellie explains how they pulled him out of the water. All is forgiven. They continue off to the radio tower. Now, once again, they're ambushed. They fend off and they make it to the tower. Basic game garbage. Now, once they make it to the tower, they spend the night. Joel, Ellie, and Henry are all sitting there bonding together, and Sam is in the other room by himself. Ellie introduces the proposition of Ellie intrudes and asks, what's he's up to. The two have a conversation about death and where the infected end up after where the humans end up after they become infected, like what happens to their brain. Sam asks Ellie what she fears, pretty much. And Sam talks about how he thinks that the people are still inside the infected people, just hoping to get out one day, and they're praying that they will be able to escape, a really religious topic that they're talking about. Now, Henry keeps telling Sam that those people have moved on, they've gone to a better place, they're definitely not those monsters that we are seeing out there on the streets, attacking everybody every day. Sam says he wants to believe it, but he just can't. And Ellie gives him a toy that Sam was looking at earlier, that Henry actually told him to put down. Only room for the essentials, Henry says. Ellie then leaves. Sam decides to stay by himself in the room. He then, angrily throws that toy onto the ground, and he sits down upset, worried almost, and he pulls his pant leg up, revealing a bite. So Sam has been bitten. Now, this next scene, there's not really much I can say. I'm just gonna play it out, and if you're sensitive to disturbing material, feel free to skip it if you want. You'll probably see my face again if you skip ahead. So I'm just gonna play the clip.
Damn, that smells good.
Good morning.
Where's Sam?
I let him sleep in for once.
Oh,
Well, if you want him to join us, you can go wake his ass up.
okay. Sam?
The hell? Shit, he's turning!
That's my fucking brother!
Screw it!
Shit!
Ellie? Ellie, are you all right?
Oh my god.
Sam?
Oh no.
Sam?
Henry? Ellie, stay there. Henry?
What have you done?
I'm gonna get that gun from you, okay? Oh, okay, easy.
It's your fault.
This is nobody's fault, Henry.
It's all your fault!
Henry! Henry, no!
Oh my god.
After Pittsburgh, The Last of Us reaches its halfway point of the game. It's time to stop focusing on building traumatic events for our two main characters and start focusing on their own traumatic events. We've been hooked, we've been reeled in, and now we're addicted. Naughty Dog has left such a huge emotional imprint on us and taken us on such a huge roller coaster, getting us close to characters and killing them off. We are left wanting more. We want to know what's going to happen to us now as Ellie and Joel. So the game takes a different turn. Joel and Ellie escape Pittsburgh, and they make it to Tommy's dam. Yeah, the same Tommy from the beginning, the one that shot that child murderer in the face, Joel's brother. Anyways, Joel and Ellie banter back and forth about the relationship between Joel and Tommy, which appears to be rocky, but apparently they left on good terms. A woman appears at the gates and interrogates Joel and Ellie. Tommy recognizes Joel and lets them into a camp. Joel informs Tommy about Ellie's bite and suggests that Tommy take Ellie to the Fireflies instead. The woman who stopped them is Tommy's wife, by the way. Her name's Maria. I don't think I actually mentioned that at the beginning, but yeah, that's Tommy's wife. Anyways, as you can guess, more bandits arrive. We have more people to kill. So the game can keep going. Bandits are still for some reason there's billions of bandits for some reason, and they all want to just die by us. So the two men rush to Ellie and Maria, who they separated once they entered the camp. Upon seeing Joel's worry and emotional connection to Ellie, Tommy agrees to take her, and Maria gets mad, and Ellie actually overhears her loud-ass voice screaming about why Tommy shouldn't, take Ellie, and Ellie gets highly upset, and she steals a horse, and she runs away from the camp. Now, Tommy and Joel, they learn about Ellie running away, and they go after her, and one of the most impactful scenes for our two characters, Joel and Ellie, is played out. Again, my explanation is just not enough, so let me play the clip for you.
Is this really all they had to worry about? Boys, movies, deciding which shirt goes with which skirt. It's bizarre.
Get up. We're leaving. Come on.
And if I say no?
Do you even realize what your life means? Huh? Running off like that, putting yourself at risk? It's pretty goddamn stupid.
Well, I guess we're both disappointed with each other then.
What do you want from me?
Admit that you wanted to get rid of me the whole time.
Tommy knows this area
Oh,
better
fuck
than...
that.
Well, I'm sorry. I trust him better than I trust myself.
Stop with the bullshit. What are you so afraid of? That I'm gonna end up like Sam? I can't get infected. I can take care of myself.
How many close calls have we had?
Well, we seem to be doing all right so far.
And now you'll be doing even better with Tommy.
Not her, you know.
What?
Maria told me about Sarah.
Ellie?
And
You are treading on some mighty thin ice here.
I'm sorry about your daughter, Joel. But I have lost people too.
You have no idea what loss is.
Everyone I have cared for has either died or left me. Everyone fucking except for you. So don't tell me that I would be safer with someone else, because the truth is I would just be more scared.
You're right. You're not my daughter. And I sure as hell ain't your dad. And we are going our separate ways.
Get it together. We're not alone.
I got two walking in.
There's more inside already.
After Tommy bursts in, they fight more bandits and they head back to the dam. On the way back, Joel has a change of heart while looking at Ellie, and he decides to actually take her to the Fireflies. Now, he and Ellie part ways with Tommy and they head towards the university where this supposed camp of the Fireflies is, apparently. They make it to the school. It's abandoned. What a surprise. They hear a recorder talking about the current location of the Fireflies, and surprise, more survivors, more bandits come and attack them. During the tussle, another crazy event happens that I also cannot explain for you guys. So I'm gonna, again, just play the clip.
You asshole!
What do you want me to do? What? Oh man. Joel?
I'm gonna need you to pull.
Okay. Alright, you ready? 1, 2, 3! Here.
Let's get to the damn horse.
Okay. Come on.
Fuck.
Oh, shit!
Come on.
Just get the horse.
Alright. Can you get on? I think we're safe. Joel? Joel? Shit. Joel, here. Oh, get up, get up, get up. You gotta tell me what to do. Come on. You gotta get up! Joel!
Joel and Ellie's experience during the first half was touched on, but it was more focused on their witnessing of traumatic events and that affecting them instead of them experiencing the traumatic events for themselves. They watched Bill's paranoidness. They ventured through Pittsburgh with Henry and Sam. They fought through Boston with Tess. But the fall season is the first part of the game where they really have a dilemma with themselves as two characters against each other instead of two characters witnessing something else, going on. And as you can see how it dawns on them that they are alone together and there's nothing they can do about it. Watching the emotional connections and the rocky points in their relationship, it just feels a lot more real. The more and more I watch and the more I play this game as we continue on through our adventure. When I first played the game, at the beginning I didn't really think about Ellie's bite and what it actually means, but now when I find myself in these recent chapters and these second half like the fall season and stuff, I become a lot more invested. I almost entirely forgot it in the first place. Back into the game, we come to the winter. Ellie is all alone. We find ourselves playing as Ellie, and we are hunting a buck. After wounding it, she goes to a cabin and finds it dead. She's actually approached by two men named David and James, who offered a trade for the buck. Ellie asks for antibiotics. James leaves to go get them, and David stays with Ellie. Now, Ellie is real skeptical about David. David is pretty overkind, if that makes sense, and the suspicion makes Ellie want, take his rifle. Eventually they get overrun by infected, and David actually reveals that he had a gun the entire time, and together they fight off the infected. And at this point we still don't know what happened to Joel after he fell onto the huge metal thingy. It is revealed that David's group is actually the one that attacked them in the university. Ellie pulls a gun on him, they give her the antibiotics, and then they go their separate ways, right? She later leaves, and it's revealed that Joel is actually alive still, and he's recovering in a garage. Trying to help him, she's actually overrun by David's group, who followed her all the way back to the garage. And David loses, or she has to leave Joel behind because she doesn't want to risk them finding Joel. And they're all pissed off because Joel freaking murdered half of their entire family pretty much. So she leaves Joel behind, and David catches her, and David knocks her out. This time our characters have been more developed. We're reeled in to their emotional connection together rather than their emotional connection with others. And now we're stuck, and the game has us at locked in still. And I know they locked us in a long time ago, but I even remember when I was playing this game recently for this episode, I literally played it from here to the end because I was so locked in. And it's just something, I already know what happens at the end because I played it way when I was 13 years old, but it's crazy the way they locked me in again. I don't know, I just think it's insane. Ellie wakes up and she's in prison. David's trying to be nice, saying, "We won't kill her. We won't touch you. You good, girl. You chilling." Ellie pretty much says, "Fuck you," and then she actually breaks his finger and tries to steal his keys, and he pretty much grabs her and brutally slams her against the cage in all anger mode and shit. And David threatens to chop her up or something, and it was kind of a weird threat, and David has shown his true colors now. Joel wakes up, he noticed Ellie's missing, and he's like, oh word, let me just go murder all these random people that are outside. Oh shit. And he interrogates two, and then he kills them it pretty much heads to the resort to free Ellie pretty much from her captivity. Meanwhile, back at the town, or back at the resort, James and David attempt to cut up Ellie, but she bites David and she reveals that she's infected, so she just bit David, so David is now going to be infected. They kind of just stand there, kind of dumbfounded. They look kind of stupid, and Ellie just freaking yeets the freaking knife into James. James big dies, and Ellie dips while being shot at. We're sitting there with sweat trenching our controller, wondering what's about to happen pretty much. She escapes to a restaurant. David traps her in. The restaurant catches fire and they hastily fight, and they both kind of pass out because of the smoke exhaustion. Now Joel arrives at the resort and goes pretty much sicko mode on every single person in there, and he notices the restaurant, goes in, and at this point, I know I talk about, oh, this is the most impactful scene here, this is the most impactful scene here, but for our characters, Joel and Ellie, for the relationship bonding, this is the most impactful scene. The one before, when they're in the cabin, would have been the separation, most important separation, but this is what brings them together close enough to where they can't unlink. Again, my explanation's not going to be good enough, so here's the clip.
I knew you had heart. You know, it's okay to give up. Ain't no shame in it. I guess not. Just not your style, is it? You can try begging.
Fuck you.
You think you know me? Huh? Well, let me tell you something. You have no idea what I'm capable of. Stop! Stop!
Fucking touch me!
It's okay. It's me. It's me. It's me. Look. It's me.
He tried to...
Oh, baby girl. It's okay. It's okay.
No.
It's okay.
So Joel and Ellie make it to the hospital, and Ellie is being really distant with Joel. And they continue on, and they encounter a herd of giraffes. Giraffes? Is that the plural? Let me look it up right now. Giraffes. That sounds disgusting. So the two bond while taking turns petting the neck of the giraffe. It's really cute. The giraffe's eating, and Joel proposes to Ellie that they could just go back to Tommy's and live their life normally. They wouldn't have to deal with any of the problems that they face nowadays. But Ellie, insists that they must keep going. She thinks that, all they've gone through couldn't just be for nothing, Ellie then finally talks to Joel about Sarah, and Joel actually doesn't get mad. Earlier in the game, he would get mad every time Ellie would mention Sarah. He would say, "Don't mention Sarah, you're not Sarah," as you guys saw in the scene earlier. And she pulls out a picture of Joel and Sarah together, and she offers it to him, and he takes it. And for Joel, this is pretty big. He accepts that no matter what you can do, you can never escape your past. And he thanks Ellie for the picture, and the two of them grow closer together. Now, Joel and Ellie make their way to an underground tunnel, and while traversing the tunnel, Joel falls into a bus or something. I don't really remember, to be honest. Kind of forgot what happened to Joel, but he ended up underwater. Anyways, Ellie gets swept away by a current of water, and Joel frantically, swims to get her out. He pulls Ellie out of the tunnel. She's unconscious. Joel makes his way to the Fireflies, and he's met with two guards, and trying to get Ellie in, he is knocked out by the two guards because he's tripping balls because Ellie is unconscious. She could be dead, and she needs to be saved. After Joel is knocked out, Marlene welcomes him back, and she informs him that Ellie is safe, and she's actually awaiting her surgery. Marlene explains to Joel that in order to retrieve the vaccine, they must completely remove the virus from Ellie's body. Now, the truth is slowly starting to come to Joel as he realizes the infection spreads all the way to the brain, and to get the entire infection out, you would have to take out Ellie's brain, leading to the ultimate death of Ellie. And the two argue over Ellie's fate, and Marlene correctly justifies that this is the vaccine. Literally, they have to do this. This can save millions of lives in the future. In fact, they could be able to, reverse engineer the infection, maybe. Joel is escorted out. Where Joel decides, nah, can't do it. Can't have her die. And he can't go through losing Ellie. It's like losing his second daughter, he just can't do it again. So he attacks the guard and threatens him to take him to Ellie, and he kind of goes sicko mode on the guard's face with the pistol. He pretty much also goes sicko mode on everybody with the freaking M4. I mean, that gun's freaking insane, dude. If I had that gun in the beginning of the game, we would have been Big Gucci mode. He threatens the doctors, and he takes Ellie, and he makes a break for it. He then commences the ending. Marlene stops Joel at gunpoint and gives Joel some harsh words of reasoning, really brings it to him, saying Ellie would rather die for a vaccine than be torn up by clickers, if she hasn't been raped or murdered first. And Joel sits there and he thinks. Then it cuts to Joel driving, and to be honest, the ending, I'm just going to let you guys watch this one. I'll hand this one over to you guys.
What the hell am I wearing?
Just take it easy. Drugs are still wearing off.
What happened?
We found the Fireflies. Turns out there's a whole lot more like you, Ellie. People that are immune. There's dozens, actually. Ain't done them a damn bit of good, neither. They've stopped looking for a cure. I'm taking us home. I'm sorry.
Wait! Let me go. Please.
You just come after her. All right, come on.
Hey, wait. Back in Boston? Back when I was bitten? I wasn't alone. My best friend was there. And she got bit too. We didn't know what to do. So... she says... let's just wait it out. You know, we can be all poetic and just lose our minds together. I'm still waiting for my turn.
Ellie.
Her name was Riley, and she was the first to die. And then it was Tess. And then Sam.
None of that is on you.
You don't understand.
I struggled for a long time with surviving. And you... no matter what, you keep finding something to fight for. Now, I know that's not what you want to hear right now.
Swear to me. Swear to me that everything that you said about the Fireflies is true.
I swear.
Okay.
And this is The Last of Us. But our question still stands. We've answered how we become attached to fictional characters and world. And we show off The Last of Us and its amazing work with world building, reeling us in, and how quick the game gets us attached, but we haven't answered why. Now the answer would be relatability. Relatability brings us in. We relate to problems of these characters with trauma of our personal past. Or present, and we express our emotions with someone who could be going through that same emotion. Whether it's death of a loved one or accepting hard truths, we can feel what our characters go through. And because we have gone through it ourselves, it's a lot easier for us to express our emotions in that sort of fashion. We also learn from these characters, you know. We find a way to fill a gap that we might need. Whether it's strength, courage, love, bravery, etc. Stuff we look for or admire, you know, in an individual. Now, The Last of Us delivers us what we want. I'm not here to tell you that the game is good. You already know that the game is good. I just wanted to dive deeper in one of the most emotional, complex games of pretty much history. A game that delivers one of the what most TV shows and movies can't do in multiple seasons or multiple installments of a movie franchise. The Last of Us delivers so much character development in one game that lasts about 14 hours long. And 14 hours is not even like 3/4 of a season of a television show nowadays. In fact, it could just be one season if it's a short show. But you know, maybe The Last of Us is more than a game. Maybe it's an experience that everybody should go through. If you don't play games, just watch someone play this game. And if you have an Xbox instead of a PS4, go borrow it from someone else, because The Last of Us is truly the only game in the world that delivers a true emotionally hooking experience. And that is the GameThru for The Last of Us. Thank you for going through this game with me. The Last of Us 2 releases June 19th, 2020. Make sure you go pick it up. I know I'm gonna definitely go pick it up. We're gonna put this game right back here in its section of the wall. My name's Ethan, and I'll be seeing you guys. Thank you, and welcome back to GameThru.